people who are just hearing this conversation and they're familiar with the more workout class kind of yoga that we're talking about, but they want to find out about something broader, where do they go? What do they find out? I mean,
in themselves.
Yeah, in themselves.
They say when the student's ready, the teacher appears.
Oh, I love that.
That's a statement that is in the yoga books. And until that clock doesn't click inside them, what they do inside my room, it's gonna be horrible. Because I believe for me, in what I do for myself and what I do for my clients, it's the way that I like to approach yoga and study. What we do and what we believe, me and you, in terms of the practice, that is the way of accessing the mind to refine your spirituality. It's what yoga was created for.
Christina, thank you so much for joining me.
Hi, thank you so much, Andrew, for having me.
It's an honor. So I always ask my guests the same question to begin with, and I'm so excited to ask this of you. When you meet people out in the world and they turn to you and say, Christina, what do you do? How do you answer that question?
It's a great question, right? Because we do so many things. And I turn to attention when I am going to answer more towards a personal thing. So almost like who I am, and it depends on the situation, I think.
Right.
I would say probably I teach yoga. That's what I do for my life. I love to do that. But I am a mom. I do a lot for my daughters. I am a wife. I do a lot for my marriage. And I take care of myself, so I do a lot for me. So I think in all directions, the do represents the persona that I am towards the spectrum of my life, not necessarily what I do for a living, right, or how do I make my money. Right. You know, I usually take that question in a more personal way.
I love that.
I try to take that answer towards more personal way, so I can start a conversation from that perspective.
Yes, yes. Do you think it's interesting that people here ask this question of like, what do we do for money, as a way to kind of label us in a way? I think so. I think culturally, people are well known from what they do in the world, right? And they do represent usually their identity, that is the mirror to how much money they make, what the position they have, if they have power. And I am experiencing this now, for example, in my business. I work purely to promote wellness. And then here comes AI taking over the world because there is so much money and power behind. But where is the wellness and the well-being towards the humans that are being left behind in the AI world? So I think it's very much cultural. Now, where are you from originally? I'm from Brazil, okay. South Brazil. And do you see major differences between the United States and Brazil in these terms? I do. I believe that in Brazil we have that perspective too, where people look at you and they want to know, what do you do for a living? But in the United States, because we have that culture that we are the power one, and we have to promote that image to the world, I think money, position, status, and power, they become the identity with the people that live in the society. Yeah, and when you were in Brazil, how would you have answered that question then if someone asked you, what did you do? I think I identify myself a lot with my career at that time. Yeah. Plus because I was much younger. Okay. So I didn't know so much about, another level of seeing myself besides being an attorney. Right. And the only thing that I wanted at that time
was finish, college and follow what my mom and my dad told me. Go to the world and make your life. And at that time was what? Be independent, having money, and be successful. My mom didn't teach me how to cook or how to make my bed or how to clean the bathroom, because everything was done by her or by the maid. And so my purpose in my 20s, in my early 30s, was to make money and be successful and be respected by that, because of that.
Did you get those things? Like, did you accomplish that goal?
I did. I did. I didn't become billionaire or millionaire at the 30s, but I was able to purchase my own home and have my car and have my partnership at the law firm and be very independent, living a good life.
What kind of law did you practice?
I practice family law.
What made you want to go into that?
That was always a question for me. Even why did I choose law? I feel that I want to follow something that was completely different from the home that I was living. Because my dad was extremely masculine. So everything was for my brothers, and the little girl stays in this little shell, and she needs to go to all girls school and maybe become a teacher and then find a husband and marry. My mom, on the opposite way, because she had chosen that, she said, don't do what I did, do the opposite, go and find a career. So that's what I did. So I feel that at some point I just want to prove to my dad, maybe, or to myself, that I was able to go to a different direction instead to be a wife or be a teacher or be a little, in my mind at that time, be a little smaller. And then I ended up going to law school, and I was invited to become part of this law firm. And at that time, the family law department needed someone. And I became the one. And I think because I always love to work with people and love to listen, and I prefer more personal relationships than corporation, I was really good on that. Yeah.
Was it, at that time, was it unusual for women to go to law school in Brazil?
No.
Okay.
This was in the 90s.
Okay.
Yeah, in the 90s we had a lot of women. We had some teachers also. Most of the teachers were men, but we had a good
law
amount
professors.
of women. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. What about in family law? Do you think that being a woman made you more, gave you particular gifts or skills for that?
It was a big challenge actually,
Really?
as a woman in family law, because the courts were made by men. Right? So when I was defending a woman, I had to deal with all that that world, right, that comes behind the judge mind. He's a judge, he has a position, but behind that judge mind, there is a man there, there is a human. So I felt that in the beginning for me was a challenge, so I had to go and fight until I became recognized with my own voice that I was able to create results. Because in some situations, even if I had the right and my client had the right, I had to deal with, a court that was mainly a man.
Right.
And then I felt that pressure under me, especially because I am not a super tall girl and I'm small and short and young, and so all that contributes a little bit for me to feel that maybe this don't belong to me. But after 10 years, and I felt pretty comfortable.
And so where did yoga enter the picture?
Yoga started in the early 2000s. I was about let's say 7 years in my career, and working hard, just working day by day, and sleeping deprivation because I had too much to do. And then, of course, the body starts to talking to me, but I didn't want to listen, right? Because I had to go and I have to provide results and just be successful. So we started with a little back pain, and then run towards the sciatica nerve. And then from a back pain to a sciatica nerve, it was compromising my sleep because I was having pain at night. And then from that, I couldn't sleep, so I was taking pills to sleep. And then it was giving me headache. So then I was between working hard, drinking a lot of caffeine. Alcohol was not playing a big role at that time. I think it was more stress, medication to sleep and pain, and caffeine, and just a go rhythm of life.
Right.
And I was talking to a friend one day and mentioned my back pain and my sciatica, and he's like, have you tried yoga? Because I was just living with the stuff, not exercising, doing nothing, just living in the hills and go for the next meeting or the next trip. And then one day I went to this yoga studio, and it was very interesting because I got in and everybody was with the legs up at the wall and 2 sandbags on top of their feet, and was quiet. And for me, that was like very dramatic. I never get quiet. I don't do that pose. So that was my first impression, and my teacher put me in that position, and in 5 minutes, my legs were absolutely numb, and my feet. And I started to practice, and with a little bit resistance in the beginning, because it was hard for me to sit still and then close my eyes and listen to silence. Yoga started to become the healing process.
That's beautiful. I think there's a lot of lawyers that can relate to I feel sick all the time. I'll just drink more caffeine and just go harder. Yeah. And do you think that was the resistance that was it hard for you to just shift modes from what you were doing all day, or do you think that there was something deeper within you that was resistant to the stillness?
At that time, I thought that was the problem. Today, 30 years later, that I know myself better, I understand that this came from my childhood, from the abused home that I had, physical abuse and moral abuse. And so I was a survivor since I was little, but I just didn't know. And when I moved through to law school and then working hard, I was a survivor again. I was just repeating that rhythm and that pace of life. And so when I moved to the mat, it was a survivor that was there. So the survivor was afraid of being alone or quiet, because for me, the noise was what made me go, right? And so I was not feeling safe. And because I was not feeling safe, I never let it go. So it took me probably 1 year to understand that I could be safe in my own body, and the pain that I was having, it was just a signal of the childhood trauma that I was carrying for so long, until I understood and I let the practice take over.
I really want to talk more about safety in the body, because that's such a fascinating concept to me. And I never could intellectualize it until I started to feel it. And I'm like, okay, now this makes a little sense. But I'm just curious, I mean, from being someone who is a survivor of childhood abuse, what was it like to be a family law attorney and to be working with families and dealing with cases where you have concern for the protection of children?
Do you know, some things happen with you that you don't know exactly why, but there is a purpose behind everything. And then when we are 20, we don't really know exactly what we are doing, right? today, one more time, I understand why I was doing what I was doing at my 20s. And so I think I helped a lot of people at that time. I was a good attorney. I was very protective to my clients, to women, men, kids. And I think that came because my own personal story. It was probably a way of healing, and helping others was healing me, because I could see that someone in front of me was suffering, and I could handle my hand and say, let's do this together, instead just to, move away like I was in my home. So yeah, I think it's just things that happen for a reason, and we don't know until we understand life a little bit better.
Right.
So I think in that sense, I created a good printed feelings in people that I work with. Most because these days they cannot find any other family attorney to be in the law firm to replace me, because I think that came with my own personality.
Good. So for people who have never felt safe in their body, the term feeling safe in the body probably seems mystifying.
True.
How would you explain that to someone who had never known what that felt like?
Yeah. One of my students asked me that question one day when we were practicing meditation, and he's like, what does it mean being safe? I think for me, being safe, it means to be in a good intimacy feeling with who you are. Safe means for you when you lie on your mat or when you drive your car and you feel a physical, mental, or emotional sensation, you are okay with that feeling because you feel safe, because that feeling doesn't threat you. That feeling, it is with you, physically, mentally, or emotionally. So that's for me, feeling safe is I am okay with what I am feeling. It can be a discomfort, a pain, a fear, but even that, not so much fear, but skeptical, probably better word. Skeptical, but I still feel safe with what I am feeling.
I love that. That's a great way of putting it. It's just you're okay with whatever you're feeling. For me, for a long time, I didn't feel safe in my body, and I would use alcohol because it's a depressant. It'll just calm everything for a while until it doesn't. But in recovery circles and people like 12-step programs that go to AA, there's this saying that you're not okay being okay. When you just can't be with your own thoughts. It just reminds me of what you were saying about not wanting to just be with your thoughts, of having that resistance and using sometimes drugs or alcohol to numb that out. Yeah.
Correct.
And so often people have no idea that that's what they're doing.
Yes.
Of course, or it could be caffeine or work or whatever it is, to just more noise, right? And so yoga, for me, has been kind of confronting in the same way that it sounds like it was for you, because it kind of forces you to be quiet. I mean, that's kind of the effect it's had on me, and to find stillness in the body, and then you discover, oh, I'm dysregulated all the time. There's that realization. And so for you, with your work, you have a particular, it's funny, we started talking about labels before we started recording.
Yes.
And we do have this desire, I think especially in the US, to place a label on a particular kind of approach to yoga or things like that. But I struggle when I explain to people that yoga is kind of the center of my spiritual practice.
Yeah.
They imagine something that involves spandex and in a studio, and it's like a workout class, right? Yeah. And I try to explain that that's a small part of a much, much broader tradition.
Yeah.
How does your approach to yoga fit with kind of what we've been talking about of creating safety in the body?
Excellent question. And I go back to what you said. You struggle to understand that one beautiful ancient art has so many directions. And today I tend to respect that. First I was mad, you know.
Really?
I was mad because I was like, how can people do that for such a beautiful art, for such a beautiful practice, and completely transform the intention of that creation, right? However, we live in a world that people need different things. And some generations, they can't stay still.
Right.
Right? And they, at least if they go and they exercise their body, they are doing something good. So I create peace with that. I don't say that I agree, and then I drink the same water as others do, because I believe for me, in what I do for myself and what I do for my clients, it's the way that I like to approach yoga and study. So I don't label even mine. I call yoga, yes, I say a little bit of, is the therapeutic, because we approach the body into the healing way in certain areas that you feel a little more restriction, if you are with pain or discomfort or injury. So I tend to be a little more open these days and just try to explain what is the difference between what I do and what other styles of yoga do. But I still believe that what we do and what we believe, me and you, in terms of the practice, that is the way of accessing the mind to refine your spirituality, it's what yoga was created for.
And so many, I mean, if you pull up an app, you find, it's how I found you. I pulled up an app and I saw therapeutic yoga.
Yes.
And I said, that's different. I want to try anything different than a hot flow.
True.
Which I don't do well in heat is another thing. I'm like, why? I have no idea how that's relaxing for people.
Right.
But
the thing is, just a parenthesis, it doesn't relax.
Yeah.
They don't want to relax. They want to keep going.
That makes perfect sense. Now that
So
you say
they
that.
rush to the
course.
class. That's how things work. They rush to the class, right? They rush to the practice, and they rush out of the door, and they continue to rush in their cars.
Right, to Starbucks, get some
To
caffeine.
Starbucks, get some, or go to the bar.
Yeah,
you know?
or the bar, yeah.
And so that nervous system continues to pile up into that sympathetic. And it goes and goes and goes. Then they can't sleep. Then they go to the doctor. But they practice yoga, but they can't sleep. So until they understand that the only way, or let's say, the healthiest way to adjust the way that you function is to slowing down, they're going to still living like that.
Right.
And many people, as we know, live like that.
Sure.
So.
Do you think that, I mean, it's a good thing that at least people are starting with something that's called yoga and that's accessible, and that they might be able to go that next step further? If they have maybe a hatha practice or something, but that's just about the body.
If I want to be complacent,
go ahead. Yeah.
Then yes. But to be honest, if I want to be more honest with what the practice is and what the real benefits the practice brings, then I would say no, it's not okay. But so many things are not okay, right?
Right, right.
And then people are going to still doing because they believe that it's okay.
If people who are just hearing this conversation and they're familiar with the more workout class kind of yoga that we're talking about, but they want to find out about something broader, where do they go? What do they find out? I mean,
in themselves.
Yeah, in themselves. Tell me more.
In themselves, they say when the student's ready, the teacher appears.
Oh, I love that.
That's a statement that is in the yoga books, and until that clock doesn't click inside them, what they do inside my room, it's going to be horrible. It's terrible. I hate that. And they're going to keep going to the one that they don't need to think.
Right.
They just need to keep going. So one day or maybe never.
Yeah. Maybe so.
Yeah.
When you were in that first year of your practice and you started to find that stillness in your body, is that when it started to dawn on you that maybe you would want to be an instructor?
No.
Really?
Actually not. Being an instructor came after I crashed mentally. Being a mom for about 7-8 years during the summer of, I think it was 2012, already in Dallas. And I was just exhausting of, just running around my kids who turned to be two beautiful young ladies. And because I think I had that in my head that I need to survive, that I need to keep going and do something for me, the survival was still there. So I have to go and find something else to do until the next step appears. That's when it came the intention of teach also. During that time of my practice, it was more to find what was going on with me. What was my first, let's say, trip inside myself in the early 2000s was just to feel like why I do what I do intensively. Because my teacher one day looked at me and said, hey, you were here, you were doing, but if you don't, because I was skipping classes a lot, and he said, if you don't commit with consistency, your body is not going to break on the mat. It's going to break outside of here. And you break, like literally, you break an ankle, right? You know this. Yeah. People break, tear something because they just can't stop. Yeah. And then the body goes and makes
when
that.
You're tight too, I've learned also with my body, if I'm always tight, something will tear or rip or I'll pull it or something. Yeah.
So that was a good trip time to myself. And I think that's when things start to evolve in terms of seeing life in a different way.
Yeah. You said you kind of broke down mentally. Would you like to elaborate on what that was like for you a little bit more?
Yes, absolutely. I moved to the States because I met my husband and I was crashing in Brazil at that time with overwhelming in the work and physically. And when I met Mark in Cancun in 2004, I think I was already at the end of the finish line. Then I could say, okay, what I did. Now it's time to start over. And it came, this life story of meeting a guy that in 5 months we decided to live together. I moved out of my country and I came to the States.
That's beautiful.
And believed in my decision. So we start to build our life together. I became a mom. I was full-time mom. And like any other career, you have your burnout. You do so much with a little bit of return because, we are just moms. What do you do? I am just a mom. How many times I answer that question? Just like that, the just is the problem. I am a mom. And I think I was so much devoted to my kids that I forgot about myself. So one day I just screamed loud that I was done with being a mom only. And I was trying to find something to do. And so I went to sales. Then I figured out that I like more to buy stuff than to sell stuff. So that didn't work well. And here and there, I try a few things. I try law as well as a voluntary, just to see if something would come back. Nothing worked. And then I went to a yoga studio and I said, do you have teacher training? Yes, we're offering this. So that's when I started my training in 2016 as a psychotherapeutic yoga.
Okay.
That kind of put me back to the early 2000s in the yoga that I was practicing, that it was more therapeutic.
Interesting. So you've mentioned therapeutic yoga, and you were talking about things like pain in your sciatic nerve and things like that. And I guess it's physically therapeutic.
Yes.
But in my life, when I hear therapy, I'm thinking for the mind and the heart. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you say psychotherapeutic yoga, I mean, can you tell us more about what that's like?
Yeah,
what
absolutely. Well, many years ago, right? We thought that the body and the mind, society thought that the body and the mind were two separate things. And we know that they are not. They are together. We function together. So when you mentioned the sciatic pain, well, it was a nerve. It was related to my nervous system. My nervous system was operating in the survival mode. Why? Go back all to the childhood and say, well, I was operating in this system for years. This was my program. I need to find a way to use my voice to survive and to create my own self. So the psychotherapeutic yoga that I went in the first place, it's a yoga training that teaches you and trains you to observe the human that is in front of you in a class and work with the body, but to access the mind and the mentality that is there. They work a little more individually. So for example, if someone looks for yoga because of PTSD or deep depression or anxiety, so the yoga practice can access the nervous system and then fill it up the patches to stabilize and organize that nervous system again. It's not so simple like I'm trying to explain. It's really deep.
It sounds that way.
But,
because it's different with every person.
Yes.
Right. I mean, it's just like any therapeutic practice with someone with mental health. You kind of have to be an investigator.
Exactly.
Almost because do you find that they're not even aware of what, like you, when you were, and a lawyer, weren't quite aware of what it is that you were fighting against.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
And then sometimes people, they tend to hide things,
Consciously?
Or not.
Or not, yeah. Yeah.
Or not because of shame. Shame, Gabor Mate, he says that shame is one of the biggest struggles with our self-esteem and our nervous system organization. So I think people feel ashamed of showing authentically who they are. Why are they suffering? Why they are unhappy, right? Also because of the first question that you made to me. What do you do?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Well, I do, but I am, it can be two different things.
Right, yeah. One of the things that, there have been a few phrases in my life people have said to me that have blown my mind. One of them was that I'm not my thoughts. And I was just like, what? How is that possible? Well, then what am I? And then they just laugh. And I'm like, no, I'm really unsettled now. I need to know what I am, if not my thoughts. Because I have the best thoughts.
Right.
And and it speaks to what you were saying, like the idea that mind and body are separable. So the challenge I still have when I'm explaining to people that are, like Christians in particular, like you have an idea of the body and the soul. And Eastern spirituality really doesn't work that way. And it's a radically different way of thinking about it. But one of the other things someone told me that kind of blew my mind was, what was it? Yeah, no, you're not your thoughts. And that was a big process for me, like when I was learning to anchor myself in my body with yoga, was the thoughts and all the storm kind of doesn't necessarily matter.
Yeah.
But we attach meaning to it.
Yeah.
And there is this sense of like ego and identity that comes from what do you do? And, I've got to do this thing. And I just wanted to know, what do you think about that with like the stories that we tell and the labels that we have that we feel like we need to take on? How does that affect us in our mental health, do you think, today?
Oh, tremendously. Tremendously. I think the diseases start in the mind. in the way that we operate, you know, our minds and our thoughts and our emotions. And then the body starts to responding in certain way. And so autoimmune diseases, inflammation, anxiety and depression, even, you know, dementia. So things that can appear as we age or at a young age, you know, like Kyle Busch died at 41, super high level sports guy. But if you look at him, you know, in the past few years, he gained so much weight, something was not right. A guy that stays in a NASCAR car has to be super fit. So something was going on in his lifestyle health that suddenly, you know, a cold kind of click what was already inside. So I think it's everything starts being, you know, this combination of thoughts and feelings and actions and experiences. And when you see, it's in your body.
You mentioned, the first thing you mentioned was autoimmune disease.
Yeah.
And that's been a big struggle for me, realizing for years I had all these diagnoses, taken all these psychiatric drugs for depression or anxiety or whatever, brain fog. And I've come to realize that I don't know if I have a specific disorder. I've never found a label for it. But I know that my body attacks itself pretty much every time I eat, unless I eat a very limited specific diet. And I feel great now because my nervous system can rest and heal. And there are all of these people that have these chronic disorders, and they inevitably will get sent to a psychiatrist who will typically prescribe them drugs because that's what psychiatrists do now.
Yeah.
And there's not really much thought given to, well, why the autoimmune disease? Yeah, what's the ultimate cause? And it also seems almost like pseudoscience to some people to think that childhood trauma could relate to fibromyalgia or to chronic pain or to something, this phantom disease where we can't find an origin or a solution. And when you meet people, I imagine that they're coming to you with, that's probably what the presentation is like. I've got pain in my sciatic nerve, or I've got back pain or pain in the body. What's the process for you of working with people who may not be aware that there's something that's maybe a more psychic origin to the pain they have?
I think it's a great question, Andrew, and this is probably what shows the first connection a good teacher can make with the student. Because as soon as the student gets in the mat, you don't need to say anything else. You know, the process for me is the new client completes a form. It's a form where they give information about their physical and mental health. And some people don't like to share. You know, do I need to complete all this? And I said, yes, please. Okay, they do. And then I go and read, there is nothing there. Stress level, good. How do you sleep? Well. Any injuries in the past? No. Okay, usually the one that the form is very plain, when I get on the mat, it's the student that brings me more work in terms of first class, right? So the way that I approach, that was your question, I let, as much as I can, I let the person feel. Because the mat is so simple. It's a little bit piece, right, of that structure that is on the floor, and your body is there. And that's not the do, that's the me. That's who you are, that is on that floor. And as soon as we start the movements and the breathing and the eyes closed and the silence and the stillness, and then move your right leg, and then they move the left, and they start to get, okay, what is this? That's when they start to perceive themselves. And then when like, okay, I have not been sleeping well for 6 months. That's probably why my headache, right? But why this? Well, I remember 6 months ago I lost my job, or I got divorced, or my kid had diagnosed, or I was diagnosed, you know? And they start to, if they're ready, they start to connect the dots, because that's what yoga does. First destroy, right? There's a destruction, and then there is a construction.
Yeah. What do you find this process you're describing when they begin to have these realizations? Are you in dialogue with them, or is it just happening internally when they're on the mat?
Minimal dialogue, because most of the time they don't like to talk. They get so surprised with the way that they feel that sometimes they get unsafe, or they get embarrassed, shame again, you know? So I just go and approach and I said, are you okay? Do you want to change? Do you want extra support? And I just let them be. Usually first class, I rarely talk during the session, unless I really feel that the student needs some support.
Right.
But my work is just let them see themselves in the mat. And if they are ready, they register right away. I like this. I like what I felt. If they're not ready, they might come back in a month, or they never come back.
Right. It seems, is there ever a part in a process, if there's ongoing work with the client, where they'll talk with you and just say, I had this realization? What's that like?
Absolutely, is the most beautiful thing.
I bet.
It's the most beautiful thing. I have students with me, and I call students instead clients, because I teach them their self-connection and how they treat their bodies, and how you realize the well-being. So it's a process of education, right? How do you deal with silence? How do you deal with stillness? How do you deal with your body that day? Because every day is different. So when they become students for a long time and they practice 2 or 3 times a week religiously, you know what I see on them? Longevity. Longevity is such a word now, but I see vitality. I see joy. I see they're making their lives pretty incredible. They stop to label things, and they're travelers in life. They travel, and they travel in life. They are, some of them still working, some of them retired, and they just feel joy. And then if something happens because they overdid on golf or tennis, or they were traveling and they did so much hiking, which happens, they learn how to heal. So they respect that part of the body that needs time to recover. Oh, they miss classes for 3 weeks. I have a student now, he's in Bhutan for 3 weeks hiking. I gave him some travel practice, but he's gonna come back this week. Let's see how his body did well. But he has to approach again in a gentle way, and he will know that. So, the plasticity in the brain, the neuroplasticity, it happens on the body too.
Right.
It changes, and it happens on the mind. So that ability of see things different, in more kind, in more adaptability. It's a beautiful process. That's why we never stop going to the mat. Because you don't really see life in a different way. And that's what comes to what you said. It becomes your philosophy of life.
Right. I find it, the idea of slowing down, especially if I feel a little injury or whatever, it's very hard for me to dial back. I'm learning it. My first injuries in life athletically were from yoga. Because I just didn't I didn't know the difference in pain and discomfort.
I did too.
Really?
Yeah.
I injured my groin in the Warrior 2. And because there's that connective tissue, it's not a muscle. And you pull,
it's deeper.
Right, and pull, and you're not supposed to, I didn't know, you don't just sit in that. And it's been a long recovery. It's been a couple years, I'm still not fully, I'm still careful with it. but it's been a repeated process of learning, like, okay, I've got to dial back. Also at my age now, I'm almost 40, and so it's like, you just can't just recover. It takes some time to do that.
Yes.
And I wondered a lot if that, I injured myself first when I was in the warrior position. And I wonder a lot if, like, my inherent maleness, my masculinity has something to do with just this drive to do more, to recover, to get back faster. Do you think that that's true, or do you think that women have the same problem?
I think that's human.
Yeah, to just want to do more.
I don't say that's male or female. Mm-hmm. I have type A ladies.
Mm-hmm. I bet.
That are very much into the go.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, those are the ones that are aging poorly.
Really?
Yeah. Because they live in pain. They're not my students. Those are people that I know, I call there is a natural selection in my yoga practice, that there is a tendency of those type A's, either they adjust when they are in the practice and they start to adjust as they go to life, for example, attorneys or doctors, or they don't adjust and they never return to me. Right. And so, but I think this is natural for a human that pursues go, right?
Right. Yeah, for me also, one of the things I like to do athletically is calisthenics. There's an overlap with that in Ashtanga, which has been kind of my main practice with yoga. I like Ashtanga because it's my practice in a Mysore style, and I can't get lost.
Okay.
I just stay with it. It's very personal. And it kind of really does force me to focus on my breath and my body, and I can't really think about anything else.
Excellent.
And I moved from there to calisthenics because there's inversions and things. There's some similarities, but I'm very much focused on what can I do? Like what can I accomplish next? What's the next movement that I can do, and to reach that goal? And it, in a certain level, I'm at peace with that it's a good thing, in that if I direct that motivation towards something that is good for the world, that there's some good that will come of it. I mean, this podcast, I think, is a little of that.
Yes.
I want to see how much growth can I achieve?
Yeah.
But it does work kind of counter to my yoga practice, which is really more about like how much can I be?
That's a great point. Are you in peace with that?
Not fully yet. I like the exercise that I do, but it's exercise. It's not a spiritual practice. And there's a gap in my life with what you're describing of just being able to sit and just be on the mat. I haven't really been able to find that for me, because with what I do with exercise and Ashtanga, they're both so demanding.
True.
I really can't do both.
Yeah, they call the Yang Yoga.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yeah. I have a lot of Yang in my life.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think, and you are just 39.
Mm-hmm.
You're very young.
Thank you.
Don't say that you're in your age, because I'm 53 and I feel incredible, amazing if I compare to my 43.
Really?
Yeah.
You feel better now?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And then, do you think that's because of stress? Less stress?
No, actually the opposite.
Really?
Yeah. I still have a lot of stress, but I think I learned how to manage better. And manage better, it relates to what you were saying, that you are always going to find the next step, the next position, the next work, And I have a student that has similar with you. And actually, the body shape is very similar. He's older than you, he's in his 60s, but he always suffers in the practice. He always like this, or he's this, And then I say, let it go. But he's a practitioner for 25 years. And is the point. I try to tell him. Sometimes I said, when you let it go, your body will understand. But the problem is that you come here, but I do yoga every day. I said, you do yoga every day. You don't feel it. You don't let it go every day. You don't need to do yoga every day. Come here twice a week, 3 times a week, and let things happen. Don't be like this. Don't try to reach your feet when your hands are on your chest, So this is a little bit of the young part of mentality, right? And I think answering your question about why do I feel better now is just because I understand life a little more in the yin way of mentality. The yin is this softness that you don't need to go for the next. You just need to stay where you are. And then let the practice take over. That's what I teach in class, because there is, here and there is always a student that is already to go into the left leg when we are still on the right, right?
Yep.
Especially when you were working with the strap, like when I get this work done. Those are the minds that are still on the do.
Right.
And then my goal is to teach them to just be able to contemplate what's happening in 1 hour. And then, because we don't have that opportunity. We don't.
Especially not today. I mean, I've learned I have to just have my phone off or away from me for long periods of the day, or else I just can't sit still.
Yes.
I can't focus. And my ability to pay attention has been hard earned, or it's, I guess, it's more like the opposite. I've had to learn how to do less so I can pay attention.
Right.
And I guard that very jealously. You've been mentioning yin, and we have yin and yang. A lot of people, I think, will be familiar with yin yoga.
Yes.
Yeah. Is that similar to what you're talking about?
Absolutely.
Is that very like your style? Okay.
I believe that yin yoga is part of my work, because you work with the connective tissues. You work with the gentle approach to the joints, the sensibility of the body. And the therapeutic is yin yoga in a way that we are pursuing the healing. Probably yin as well, because I believe yoga as a concept is a healing manifestation of the body, because you are in a self-care. So my answer, yes, the yin yoga is much what I believe and what I like and what I pay attention and what I teach.
You mentioned when you found psychotherapeutic yoga, it brought you back to the early 2000s to what you had been exposed to in Brazil. I'm curious, what kind of yoga or what approaches were you learning when you were there in Brazil?
The slow pace and the connection with the mind. Because for a little while in the United States, in Dallas, I was connected to Ashtanga as well.
Okay.
And I did power yoga, and I did vinyasa, and I did Ashtanga. I did Iyengar with very good teacher here in Dallas too. But all of them extremely physical, right?
Yes.
Even Iyengar, that is pretty much a form of deep therapeutic, it's still physical. And so when I moved to the psychotherapeutic yoga, I went back to my days on my mat in Brazil, where they taught me that there was a moment to connect to the presence and to face the reality using the body manifestation.
Does Brazil have its own unique kind of blend of traditions with yoga, or?
No, I think it's similar to what we have in the States. What I say that probably can be different that I learned from my Brazilian teachers is the way that we are Brazilians. And I think we put that together into our do who we are. And that worked well, Okay. So we offer a beautiful practice that works very gentle in your body. But we are also very gentle and joyful people. That's our culture, that's our nature.
Okay.
So I put both together, and it just worked. And it worked for my teachers in Brazil, because their studios, they receive people that like they were receiving their students in their homes. And so it's quiet, it's silence, it's clean. Nobody's in a rush. There is always a cup of tea ready for you. The mat is clean. All those details you don't find in another studio, in Dallas at least.
Right.
So I took care of this business, as my home to offer to the students a little sense of being in my house, but here I'm gonna take care of you.
And what's the name of your studio? Kasa Yoga.
Yes.
Home?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, when I went there the first time to your old studio, there is a sense, the way you're describing it now, it reminds me almost of like monasteries in the East, where it's a place that you can just go to just, we would say chill out.
Chill out.
Yeah, chill out here.
Yes.
But to be at peace and
Yes.
to kind of get away from all that, and which is, so many yoga studios that I've gone to are, they're in an office park, and it's just, there's no windows in them, and it's just very like,
True.
it's a box, and you go in, you're there to work out.
Yes.
And then leave, or there might be a mirror or something, or a
Yes.
heater, or something like that. But they're not almost like a space, almost like an ashram.
Yes.
You can go to, and I imagine that helps a lot of people drop in and just be, especially if you're someone like me who's had a real struggle to just be. Having that radically different environment. There's just something when you go into an environment like that where you're like, wait, it just feels different.
Yeah. That's what we call in the business, like the luxury brands. They talk a lot about this, the experience that they feel. So if you go to a Chanel store, the way that you are treated inside a Chanel store is completely different if you go to a Marshall's to find a purse.
Okay.
And so that's the intention when I created the studio, the old one and this one in particular, because I had more experience and I knew what was working well and what was needed to be off. So now it's all white and black. I was inspired also in Coco Chanel because I read a little bit about her story and how she wanted to approach the client. And so for me, it defines my business. As soon as you open the door, you are already different. As soon as you get in a Chanel store, you know that you are there because the smell is different, you treat different, and you see completely different. So when my students come there is always a sense of peace and a warming feeling. So everything is ready for them. They know I am not even on the front desk, and that is a strategy. Some of them know that. I don't have a front desk person. So it's only me. I am always on my office. If they need me, they know where I am. But they come and they go straight to the cubs. They leave their stuff and they get to their mats. The barn door that goes to the yoga practice is always closed halfway through. The lights are down and there's absolutely quiet. So all that transition from where they're coming, it teaches them, my nervous system needs this. And that's when the things start to become physiologically for the person. Because then, today is Tuesday, I practice, today I'm gonna go back Thursday. So by Wednesday night, this person had already gone to so many meetings and calls. The only thing that she wants is to go back there in that environment that turns everything down.
Right.
And that's very important for what I want to deliver, not for a physical practice.
Right.
That is, right? For what I want to deliver, the healing in the nervous system, the environment is fundamental,
Critical.
I would say.
Fundamental,
Yeah.
Do you see a role for other more embodied yoga practices, like a more yang practice, as a complement to what you're doing, or like just in addition to the style that you're practicing with your
In
students?
terms of
For spiritual development?
For spiritual development, it depends on what the person really looking for, right? I think some people find in the practice good enough, but there's other ways to develop your spirituality, Meditation is another way. Reading great books is another way. Going to nature,
Right.
So I think people need to find one thing that calls. Because that's another problem with us here, probably in the society in general. We try to find too many things. So people do too much. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, they're exhausted because they do Pilates, workout, biking, spinning, blah, blah, blah. And they work, and then they can never find relaxation.
Yeah. I was just thinking when you were saying that, of all the different things that I do too. And some of it's fun to see what I can do. That is nice to the surprise with it. But I was just thinking when I was asking about the spiritual development and finding different things you were talking about, reading good books. I was wondering, we haven't mentioned this yet, but you've written a book here.
Yes.
Tracing Lines. What can you tell us about this?
Tracing Lines. Do you know that game that you play in a very cheap magazine that you have to connect the dots to find a figure?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So Tracing Lines is exactly that game. When I decided to write the book, because I always wanted, but I never found the right time or the good editors for me. And I found the time and the editors. So how can I present what I have in my head? And then I always want to call it Tracing Lines. So this is a book about life. And our life is that figure that you don't know what is, right? You don't know if it's a lion, if it's a bear, if it's a human, or if it's a strawberry. But you just know that the dots are there. So you start your journey connecting the dots. And one day, on each dot, you start to realize what you have become. So when you are almost done on the dots, you figure that out before you end, that that's a strawberry. That's what you want to become is a strawberry. It's a bear. It's an Andrew. It's a Christina. So the book is not a biography. We call it the memoir because the memoir talks about a story that happens in Brazil, started in 1972 when I was born, and then ends in 2025 when I sent my first daughter to college. And so the book has 50 chapters divided in 3 acts actually. So each act is a part of the figure that at the end collect into the person that I had become at that time.
How did you feel when you published it, when you finally got to that place? Because you said you've been thinking about it for years, right? You've known that you wanted to do it.
Yes. I feel writing the book was more exciting than launch, to be very honest with you.
Really?
I think I was in a wrong mindset because I thought that when I was launching the book, I would become famous.
Okay.
Or everybody will start to call me for speeches. Or this book is just gonna be incredible, it's gonna become a movie. That's what I wanted. And I was wrong because nothing that happened. And so I had to understand that writing a book is for us. It's not for others. First is for us. It's my capacity, my ability to put my life in words and make that an interesting story. So great, I love to write. So I was able to create a book. The second part is let it go.
Let go of the result.
Let it go, the result,
Yeah.
right? So for me now, I am collecting feedbacks from my students, friends, people that read the book and email me. And that has been for me the exciting part. Different from what I launched the book, now everything's gonna turn, successful. So it's good for me to be authentic and recognize this because I think a lot of people that wrote the book with me, because we were in a group of writers, they thought the same. Because when some people come and they try to sell their business for you to add their book or publish, that's what they sell to you. You're going to be on Netflix. And things don't happen like that.
Right.
But the most important thing is the book is a very high quality, #1 bestseller. And in Brazil, the translation, it's already receiving 2 awards.
Oh, wow.
For the quality of the writing. So I think that's the biggest award.
Congratulations on that.
Yeah. Thank you.
What was it like writing it? You said that was almost the better part of it. What was your process like for that?
The healing.
Tell me more.
I was able to see myself very little and very damaged. And then from that point, understand what happened to me and was able to forgive. And then reframe who Christina was. So that was incredible. 2 years on the writing and 2 years on weekly therapeutic process with the story.
Really? What do you mean by therapeutic process? Was that just your own process of engaging
My
with
own
the text?
process and engagement.
And so would you write every week was your process or every day?
No.
Every week?
Mostly Sundays.
Okay.
And then I started at the end, I had to put one more day on the week to make
Kind of
able to finish.
to get it there.
Yeah.
How long would you write on Sundays?
2 years.
No, how long in one sitting of writing
It
would you write?
depends on the day because that happens too. Some days nothing comes and then you write one
words
page.
come.
One day I wrote 9 hours and I wrote 50 pages. So it depends. Writing is also, it's the day that you are on the mat and things are not working well because, you had a bad night's sleep or something bad happened and you get stuck on your head and you cannot move well. So one more time, it's just like that yin mentality that you have to go and allow that happen.
Like yoga, writing, do you think it's about making sure that you get on the mat in your appointment, even if it's not going to come? That's the challenge that I've had with writing. Also with my photography as well. It's helped me to have photography and some other creative pursuits so that if I'm just blocked on one thing, which would be writing, I can do something else creative and takes the pressure off a little bit, but I'm also not sitting down and wrestling with the blank page.
Great analogy. Sometimes the blank page, I wrote maybe 2 or 3 sentences that became a chapter,
Okay.
So because of that, I was able to go deeper.
And did you gain clarity about your life that you didn't already have? Or
very much.
You mentioned you saw yourself as the small girl. Were you surprised by that?
I don't think I was surprised. I think I made peace with my life. I made peace with who I am and the family that I came from and the mistakes that I made and the glories that I had. And I think I finally can be in peace despite the stress and the dilemmas that life will bring to me. So I think I learned that all of that create me today. And then me can create me in 10 years. So every day it's a little bit of the dot to see, when is my last dot.
Still tracing in the lines.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that analogy.
Isn't that great?
I love it. Yeah, because you don't know what you're going to draw when you're starting out.
But
you just kind of have to have faith.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that's a great question. And one student even asked me, so do you think all the dots are what's the word that he used? All the dots are there. You just need to go and find them. Or there is a little bit of surprise and the dot appears. Isn't that great question?
It's a great question. Yeah.
Because you can feel that or think that my life is a predestination, right? So what I need to do for that? If I know that I'm going to be X, why do I need to work for that?
Right.
But how do you know that you're going to be the X, right? you have to do it. You have to use your willpower for that.
I've known so many people. We were talking at just the beginning of this conversation about people and the labels they've chosen for themselves, their careers, and other things too. I've known so many people of being in like treatment centers for depression and places like that. People who are really, really, really unhappy, and they almost all secretly or admittedly wanted to change where they lived, what they did for work, or in some cases who they were married to. Mm-hmm. And if you've gotten any one of those choices wrong for you, it's going to be very hard to be happy.
Absolutely.
Or if you've gotten all three of them wrong, you picked someone else's life.
Yes.
And in our society, we call those things, we call that depression or anxiety or whatever it is that would manifest. And there is something about being a human being instead of a human doing.
Yes.
That allows us to be able to find that. And I think for me, my time of coming into yoga and meditation, and I'm curious to know if you think there's any difference between the two, but finding that stillness and being able to listen a little bit, what's so dysregulating about that, what's so hard to accept and you experience resistance is you tend to hear a voice telling you you're living someone else's life, and for a long time I was like, oh, I'm supposed to do this, I'm supposed to have this career, I'm supposed to be this kind of person. And I worked really, really hard at it, and it never worked out for me because I think that my body knew that it was never what I really wanted. I probably wanted something like this. I just didn't think I deserved it, or it was unrealistic or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to know if you had any thoughts about that, about like, since we were talking about trying to decide in advance what you want the lines to trace in as versus kind of just allowing things to happen.
I think you can do both. It depends on the situation, the time of your life. In certain times, I had to take a risk and make decisions, probably more until now. I think I finally learned that letting go, it's also the best way to be in life. Because things are going to show up. But sometimes you have to make the choice. And so it depends. It's a very fine line for both. Mm-hmm. I love to take risks. Love. My entire life I took risks. Yeah. And I play like this, I usually put my right foot on front and I just hope that my left can reach and meet my right because I'm gonna fall. And I did that a few times and I fell and I had to go back. And so for me, writing the book was a risk too, because I was very raw in my book. Like, I told things that nobody knew it, even my brothers in Brazil. And I told them, I said, I am going to write a book and it's going to be very vulnerable and authentic about our lives. And some of the episodes you don't know because I never told you. So I took the risk. And I think in certain way, I am still dealing with that. In certain way, that closed I call the first half of my life, because I'm 53 and I want to live to 100. And so the other half, that is my next book, the other half is, what did I learn from this first half? I learned that risks are great, but maybe I should now learn how to let it go more. And then instead to think about the next step, the next trip, the next program, the next plan, the next project. What about if I just sit on my studio and do the best class that I can? And then work in making my clientele healthier. That is not a risk. I know how to do that. That is very safe, actually. What about if I just concentrate my life in what I created here? Things are not perfect in my life, but I can administrate them and then just feel how things turn in 1 year. What about that, Christina? So I'm in this moment now.
So this is your practice?
This is my super hard practice, Andrew, because I was always in the next project.
Me too. Right. It's hard. It feels hard listening to you talk about it. Yeah. But to just be for a year?
Just be for, I am giving 2 years for me.
Okay.
Because the past 8 were hell. Were hell. They were beautiful, but they were hell. I was traveling all the time, dealing with partnerships and landlords and clients and marriage and kids, and my girls were in the, teenagers, and one of my girls wanna be a man, and the other got super depressed, and I was trying to, catch a fire every day. And guess what? Yeah, I developed panic attack. I was a little bit depressed. I had to go through medication. Okay, so now I am stable. I'm practicing. I am teaching better than ever. What about if my girls are good. They both girls. And one is in college, the other one is applying. And what about if I just stay here? And, I hate that question. What's up? What's next?
Yeah.
Nothing. What is the summer plan? No plan. And it's hard because everybody expects that you are doing something.
Right.
I am doing something. I am providing. That nobody sees it. So it's hard, but to be honest, I'm finding so much peace on that because I'm having more time for me.
Yeah. What's that like, having time? Because your youngest is about to go to college, right? So what is that like? I mean, this is a big transition, I think, in any mother's life. Yeah.
Big transition. And it came in this beautiful time where now I have to look at me and my husband and say, can we rescue? Can we continue? Things need to change. We changed. We both changed. And so I think the best way now is just to let things settle and see what's the other half is going to
That
show
sounds exciting.
us.
Yeah, no, I love that. This is the first half and you're working on the second half.
The first half. And we never know what is the first half. That's another interesting thing. I think, I don't know if the God plan is, it's for me 50 more years. I don't know. Maybe it's 10. So my other half was 30. But we'd never know. It's just like the dots.
Right.
So I think you have to feel. You have to keep feeling. Sometimes you have to keep doing and taking risks until the day that you're going to say, I think I am done. I had done enough. Now I am going just to slow down and see how it is to let the movie go through.
Yeah. Do you think, for a long time when people started telling me about letting go, all I really heard was give up. Letting go is giving up. And it's been a hard process of basically just trying it and seeing that, there is a difference. But I mean, if you're giving this advice to someone and they're saying, it sounds like you're telling me to give up, what would you say to them?
Great question too. Sometimes it can be. But I think the let it go is the presence. We tend to live either on the future. This is a little bit, everybody says that, but it's real. We tend to live in the future with the next project, the next summer, the next Halloween. Or we tend to live in the past. Oh, I wish I was that person 30 years ago. I wish I was living in Brazil still. Nothing that can happen again. In the future, you don't know. What about if you stay where you are and you work, you have a job, you work, or you need to work on your marriage, or you need to work on your motherhood, or you need to work on your health. Face it. Be present and face that. Because I believe a lot of things that I had done in the past, trying to move to the next step, I was avoiding to be in the present. It was too hard.
Right.
It was boring, it was difficult, and I didn't want to stay there. Now feels good. because I accept it.
When you're always on, I can see how if you're always moving to the next thing, being on the mat by yourself, it's got to be hard.
Yes.
You can't do that. That's the whole purpose. Is you got to sit here and be with where you are, be with who you are.
Yeah. So that's why the stillness in class, sometimes I always say to the students, the stillness is the change. Mm-hmm. If you don't let your body feel the posture and the posture integrate, there is no practice. So you have to be still. And that works for life. I want to change a few things in my life. Okay. So what I'm going to do? I'm going to go to New York for a weekend to forget about it. No, I'm going to stay with what I want to change. That's me. That's the way that I feel about myself. That's probably not another trip because I am having insomnia. Mm-hmm. Let's say that, you know. So I think the let it go is, please stay where you are. It's just so incredible. You probably feel this when you see people. I have that in my family, but I also in the students and people in general. How are you? Oh, what is the next trip?
Fine, how are you?
Yeah, or fine, how are you? Oh, great, I'm going to.
Oh, yeah.
Or I'm doing this. Mm-hmm. Okay. How are you? Mm-hmm. I'm not talking about where you're going. I don't care if you're going to travel.
Right, or what your job is now.
Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah.
Tell me, how are you feeling? Mm-hmm. What do you want to eat today? Mm-hmm. You know, it's very interesting. And it's the pace of the society today. Yeah. It's always on to the next thing. Always in the next thing.
You know, you mentioned when we were just talking about presence and living in the present. It's a very Buddhist or Zen way of thinking of things too. And I mentioned earlier, just, you know, yoga to me is almost synonymous with meditation. Do you see them as separate things? Or?
It depends. It depends how you practice both. Some people say that meditation is running. When they run, they meditate.
Okay, I see.
Some people say that when they practice yoga physically, right, the fast pace, they meditate. For me, that doesn't work. Well, I don't run, but if I would run, I would probably be attentive to the traffic, my feelings on my feet, my body. My mind was still working, right? So for me, the meditation that I believe, because that's what I do for myself and it works for me, is the silence one, the silence and the stillness. And it works well in my practice because the yoga that I teach and I practice, they work with silence and stillness. So when I am in a posture, I just turn my attention to my breath and I work with that breathing exercise of holding the breath for a few seconds before you inhale again. And that pauses my thoughts very deeply. And then I just keep the attention. If the pause turns to be long or short, it depends on the day. And then I connect both. I connect my posture to my mind, to my head, through my breath. So that's for me is the same. But for others, you know, they like the meditation apps. They think that listening birds or music or other people talk, they meditate. As long as it's functioning for the purpose of meditation, I would say good. You know, if I accelerate your mind, it's not meditation. Meditation decelerates, should decelerate the mind to reorganize your nervous system. So,
yeah, do you think the mind itself is what prevents our nervous system from reorganizing?
I believe so.
Yeah, just the busyness. Yeah, I mean, it's all part of the same system.
Yeah. I think the mind is the villain. The villain?
Yeah. Villain, yeah.
Yeah, because the mind can be such a friend and such an enemy. And more we see, right, the mind shrinking with the mental diseases and suicidal, opioid. It's all the mind.
Mm-hmm.
It's all the mind.
Right.
And the experiences in life, and the shame and the fear, but it's all mind.
So, it's bringing our conversation to a close. I'm curious about the next book you're going to write for the second half of your life. Do you have ideas of what you want to see traced in when you trace in the lines, or are you content to just allow the dots to connect as they do?
I am a little divided now. I actually have a meeting with my editors tomorrow because the same ones that I wrote this book, they want to help me on the second one. Mm-hmm. First, I was planning to be a little more technical about the yoga practice per se,
right.
But I think women in general, but I think women specifically, but in general, humans probably would like or need to read the message of this book. That is how you discover the other half of your life. And then the other half is very intriguing, right? Because it can be your other half.
Yeah, right.
My partner. Mm-hmm. It can be my other half, my inside, and it can be my other half. What I have left to live. That we don't know. It's almost like tracing lines. Yeah. You don't know where you are going. So what are you doing with that?
I'm just trying to be happy with wherever I am now. Honestly, yeah. I found when I quit worrying about the future and I stopped regretting the past, the present's actually pretty great.
I can see on you.
Thank you.
I can see on you.
I had a realization not long after we first met a couple years ago, and I was reflecting on some of the dark things in my past. There were a lot of them. And I came to a realization for the first time in my life that I wouldn't have changed any of them. And I just kind of, all of a sudden it hit me like, oh, I think I'm happy. I think that's what this is. Because if you're happy with the present moment, that means you wouldn't change anything about the past because it might have led you somewhere else, right? And I can see that kind of as you tell your story and the things you went through with your childhood and your family and all the risks and the heartaches and setbacks, that you do seem to be really happy with everything that you've been through because it's led you here.
Yeah, I'm going to put something for you to think that is related to happiness and being peace.
Okay.
At this moment, I'm very sad. I'm sad because of something that is going on in my life. But I'm very in peace. And so sometimes happiness, it's related to a feeling that you have to find something to justify. That usually they say that is external, right? Well, I'm happy if I don't have breast cancer or if I don't have brain cancer. That is something inside, but it's coming from outside, right? Or I'm happy if I sign the contract. Shows me a lot of, progress in my business. Great. But if something happens to your health or to your business or to your personal life, and you still accept and you let it go and you let it be, more than be happy is being peace. So I feel that you are going through the happiness to find your peace. Because I think we have to go through that. Because the peace, regardless what's going on, you are still with you.
Right.
And then the future and the past, they stay in their place. So just a thought.
I like that. It's thought-provoking. Happiness has been nice to know what that's like, to go through it.
Absolutely.
But there is something about it that is, it's momentary.
It's momentary.
Yes. Yeah. And it helps a lot to be able to be in the moment.
Yes.
Because you'll notice when it happens.
Exactly.
And you can appreciate it. I found myself for a long time having conversations and being so anxious about not wanting them to end that I couldn't enjoy having them. You ever had that experience? It's like, or it's being on vacation.
There is the word There is a word for this.
Really?
Yeah.
I'd love to know what that word is. Is it Portuguese?
No, it's an English too.
Okay. An English one?
Keep talking.
It'll come to you, yeah.
Like,
or in the shower later tonight. It's
boycott.
Boycott?
Boycott?
Boycott? I don't think so. Boycott when you...
Boycott is... In Portuguese, boycott means you are in such a beautiful place, but you have a tendency to look into the bad thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
There is a better word than that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know what you're referring to. It's like you're so worried about losing the thing you have, you don't bother to enjoy it.
Exactly.
You know? And I guess peace or contentment is a better way to think of it.
Yes.
Like, whatever is happening.
It's permanent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's lasting.
Even if you have a line of stress, financially, business, family, you know that you can deal with that because you are in peace. Mm-hmm. Because you found safety on your own. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So even if you lose a business, like I lost mine.
Right.
I lost my business. That guy put me out of business. Mm. And for a moment, I was not in peace. I was very angry. I was very, very mad. And then it took me a few months to work on myself, and I finally found peace. And so I had to rebuild everything. But even looking back to all the things that I had to rebuild and still pay, I am in peace.
You know, when you said you were sad, it was the way that you said it. I found it to be a very beautiful thing that you were expressing. A lot of people, especially with emotions that are challenging, like sadness, won't want to admit it, or they're worried that you'll feel bad about it. Or
right.
And there is something about this piece of being in the moment where you can actually honor those emotions and be grateful for them, mm-hmm. even because it's almost like I get to feel sad, which is a lot better than not being able to feel anything at all.
Right.
I've been there. I mean, that's kind of what I thought was depression for a long time was probably just my body shutting off from telling me what was really going on inside. Mm-hmm. You know, you just, at a certain point, you're just so numb, you don't feel anything. Mm-hmm. And now I do feel sad sometimes, and that's a hell of a lot better than being depressed. I'll say that, because they're not the same thing at all. And it's like, I get to feel sad, and it passes. It's momentary.
Yes.
You know, time, life will change, and sometimes you're in a season of life where it's time to be sad, and sometimes there's a mixture of emotions too.
Beautiful.
And it's a beautiful thing to be able to recognize that.
Yeah.
So
I like the word season you said.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just had a student that returned after 1.5 years without practicing, and she was not in another studio. She just was not practicing, and she said, I came back from a season. And then a lot of things changed in her life.
Yeah.
So she was able to come back and say, I'm alive, and I'm going to continue.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I'm really, really grateful that we've been able to reunite in these seasons that we're in our lives.
Too.
And I'm really
too.
eager to see what your next book is and how you're tracing the lines for the second half.
Thank you. I am so happy to see you too, and thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much.
Lovely
This has been my honor. Please, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right.
Thank you.